AWESOM-O is one of the most popular episodes in all of South Park. According to IMDb, which we all know is an excellent source of information, it's the 5th highest ranked episode in the entire series with over 5,000 votes. So, you know, it's pretty well regarded. And that's not really all that surprising because it's also one of the funniest episodes in the show. It's got an amazing premise, tight execution, and it even comes in a pleasure model.
AWESOM-O does not understand.
Let me show you what I mean.
Lame. Yeah, we're making a bunch more money. I can't believe it either.
Not cool. Totally lame.
Now, since people seem to really like my Casa Bonita video, where I did a scene-by-scene breakdown of that episode, I figured that AWESOM-O would be the perfect follow-up. Not only because it's one of my favorites in the series, but also because I believe that AWESOM-O and Casa Bonita have a very special relationship with each other. I mean, they're obviously quite similar in a lot of ways, and that's probably why they're both favorites of mine, but it actually goes beyond that, because I personally believe that AWESOM-O could not exist without Casa Bonita. It is in many ways a response to, and subversion of, what happened between Cartman and Butters in the previous season. And I just think that's neat. So in order to elaborate on what I mean, I think it's best that we just end this intro right here and now, because otherwise I'm just stalling for no particular reason. Okay, you can start the episode. Look at Butters eating cereal and watching TV. So adorable. Now, my Casa Bonita video, I talked about how that episode started off with a perfect characterization of the boys, because it only takes 1 or 2 lines for a new viewer to understand exactly who they're dealing with, which I think is incredibly efficient writing. Well, the same can be said about AWESOM-O. Within the first 30 seconds, the show does an amazing job at teaching the viewers exactly who Butters is and how we should expect him to act.
To Butters Stutch. Oh boy, it's for me! It's for me! Who is it from? Sent from Japan. Konnichiwa. Wow! A package for me from Japan!
The second you see that obviously fake note on the package, a new viewer will know that Butters is a naive kid, which is only further emphasized by what happens when he opens the crate.
Well, what could it be? My birthday isn't until September 11th.
You know, I once knew a kid born on 9/11. 20 years later, bam, AIDS. Now, if you think about it, this episode starts off a lot like Casa Bonita. Not just because of the whole characterization thing, but the entire setup in general. It's an A-plot-only episode that revolves around a core idea, which is established within the first minute of runtime. Cartman is pretending to be a robot, and Butters believes it.
I've never gotten a package this big. I've always wanted to have a huge package.
Greetings. I am the AWESOM-O 4000.
So we're just not going to talk about how Cartman somehow found a giant crate and managed to seal himself inside of it with nails and put himself on Butters' doorstep and somehow ring the doorbell? Okay, cool, just checking. Now, I think the similarities between the start of this episode and Casa Bonita are very much intentional, because you gotta keep in mind that Butters and Cartman episodes weren't always a staple of the show like they are today. When AWESOM-O came out, the only true Butters and Cartman episode before it was Casa Bonita. And I think this episode uses that fact to its advantage by playing along and pretending that we're gonna get the same kind of dynamic between them. It wants us to think that this will be another episode about Cartman tormenting Butters. I mean, just look at how this thing starts. Cartman is playing a trick on Butters, who is clearly falling for it, and even gets him to admit to embarrassing secrets.
You should tell AWESOM-O all your most personal secrets. AWESOM-O will not make fun of you or tell your secrets to other people and stuff.
Hey, yeah. Well, I can tell you anything, huh? Well, for one, I have what's called a hesiated colon, which means I sometimes can't control my sphincter.
Fun fact, if you Google hesiated colon, you get a picture of Butters, because hesiated colons aren't real. And they say my videos aren't educational. They don't say that. There is no they.
Well, nobody knows it, but sometimes I poop my pants, so I have to wear a diaper to school. You okay, AWESOM-O?
Yes, AWESOM-O is fine. Please go on.
See what I mean? The episode tries to bait you into thinking that gullible old Butters is gonna fall for Eric's trap and hilarity will ensue. It even outright references how much of an asshole Cartman has been to Butters throughout the entire series. Hell, it even mentions the events of Casa Bonita.
But sometimes I get picked on by this one kid at school. His name is Eric Cartman, and he always tries to play jokes on me and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one time he made me think a meteor had hit the Earth and convinced me to stay down in a bomb shelter for 3 days.
Wow, that sucks.
But just when we think we know where the story is going, it does a complete 180. Because when Butters reveals that he knows one of Eric's secrets, a conflict is introduced that reverses the entire dynamic of the episode. Suddenly, Butters is the one in control instead of Eric, and Eric is the one in a trap instead of Butters. Which means that the plot of this episode isn't like Casa Bonita, it's the opposite of Casa Bonita. This time it's about Butters having a good time at Eric's expense, even though it's completely unintentional.
Because what Cartman doesn't know is that I know one of his secrets.
What?
When Cartman is playing all alone in his backyard, he likes to dress up like Britney Spears and pretend he's her. He sings and dances around with a life-size cutout of Justin Timberlake.
This scene is of course setting up the finale, but you already knew that.
Yeah, and I videotaped him doing it.
Nuh-uh.
I've got the whole thing on tape, even him making out with the Justin Timberlake cutout.
No way.
Yeah, and if Cartman ever messes with me again, I'm gonna show that video to everybody. Then I'll have my revenge, boy howdy.
I love that Butters literally dances at the thought of getting revenge on Cartman. It's a small detail, but it's such a nice little touch. But yeah, as I was saying, there is so much about the plot structure here that just reverses the one from Casa Bonita. Like seriously, you could take pretty much any key point about Cartman's role in that episode, and it'll be the opposite in AWESOM-O. Think about it. Instead of Eric trying to lie his way into living his dream, he's trying to lie his way out of living his nightmare. Instead of laughing at Butters suffering under Eric's control, we laugh at Eric suffering under Butters' control. Instead of building tension around getting caught in his lie, this episode builds tension around getting... Actually, that part's still the same.
Hey there, have you heard about my robot friend? He's metal and small and doesn't judge me at all. He's a cyber-wire bundle of joy.
Robot Friend is a decent song. I mean, I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. Honestly, I enjoy the montage more than the actual song itself, but I do like this performance they did at the South Park 25th anniversary concert.
Metal and small, he doesn't judge me at all. He's my cyber-wire bundle of joy. A robot friend.
I am AWESOM-O.
I don't even care that Butters' voice sounds weird. I just love that they performed it live.
Oh, that's so cute. Did you see Butters and his friend Eric playing robot?
Yes, those boys are quite imaginative. Leave it to them to find a fun way to do the dishes.
That's great, AWESOM-O. You can carry all my laundry in one trip.
The beauty of this episode is that Cartman is only suffering because Butters is so pure and naive. Any other kid would have probably figured out that AWESOM-O is not a real robot, but because of Butters' sense of wonder, Cartman is forced to become his personal slave. And that's kind of the whole thing that this episode does. It paints us a picture of Butters through his interactions with AWESOM-O and deepens our understanding of his character. Like for example, we all know that Butters is a resilient kid, we see it all the time. But the added context of him needing to wear diapers to school makes me have way more respect for him, because it means that he's persevering despite having a condition that would probably be very embarrassing as a kid. Even the fact that he's planning to get revenge on Eric for all the bullying shows us that a nice kid like Butters can still be pushed too far. In fact, this is one of the first times that an episode has shown us that side of him at all. I mean, aside from Professor Chaos, but like, nothing he did in those episodes was actually bad. Anyways, the point is that this episode is a character study on Butters, which makes sense because it's the opposite of Casa Bonita, which was a character study on Eric. But unlike the first Butters-focused episode that we got in season 5, which seemed to mainly be about his resilience, the focus here is on who Butters is under positive circumstances.
Butters, remember when you said you had a video of Eric Cartman dressed like Britney Spears?
Oh, yeah?
I would like to see what he looks like so I can beat him up for you. May I see the video?
Aw, you don't need to do that, AWESOM-O.
See, this interaction is a perfect example of what I mean. Just look at how it highlights the difference between Butters and Eric. When AWESOM-O makes an offer to Butters to beat up his bully, Butters says no, which demonstrates that he has a very strong moral compass. Whereas if Eric had a robot, he'd probably send that to exterminate Kyle and his family immediately.
Hey, I gotta put in my suppository. Can you help me?
Wait, I don't like where this is going.
Remember I said I put that medicinal suppository in my anus? It'll be so much easier having you do it from now on.
Don't do it, Butters.
It's real easy. I'll show you. You just take this little thing out of the plastic paper, and then I'll...
Butters, no! Ah, that's much better. Just a cute and heartwarming moment between a boy and his robot. And that's all anybody saw.
Where is it? Where is it?
AWESOM-O!
AWESOM-O is reorganizing your stuff for you.
Oh, jeez Louise, my mama's gonna be awful sore when she sees this mess. I'm gonna have to give you a spanking, AWESOM-O, so that you learn better. And just know, AWESOM-O, that I did it because I love you.
This is another great example of how this episode gives us insight into Butters' mind. We see that he treats AWESOM-O like his son, or maybe sibling, which is really sweet. But at the same time, the fact that he spanks AWESOM-O kind of suggests that he gets beaten by his dad to some degree, which is sad. And if anything, this scene shows us that he's internalized that kind of abusive behavior.
Oh, go answer the door, AWESOM-O.
AWESOM-O will answer the door.
What the hell are you doing, fat ass?
Dude, are you still pretending to be a robot? I just need to make Butters think I'm a robot for a little while longer.
So by this point in the episode, there hasn't been a whole lot of tension yet. It's mostly just focused on the silliness of Cartman being stuck in a robot costume. But as the episode goes on, the threat of Cartman being found out increases, forcing Cartman to go to greater and greater lengths to conceal his identity, which is really where the bulk of the humor in this episode comes from. The degrees to which Cartman will suffer to protect his secret. And the boys coming over to Butters' place is the first time that really gets tested.
God damn it, will you just do—
Who's at the door, AWESOM-O?
A few moments later.
Hey, AWESOM-O, will you go get my friend some Sunny Delight?
Yes, of course.
Oh, wait. Hey, AWESOM-O, I'd also like some celery sticks chopped up 2 inches long with peanut butter and raisins on top.
Suck my balls, Kyle.
Now obviously, Cartman does a pretty good job of avoiding trouble here by refusing Kyle's request instead of failing it, but now that the episode has introduced the risk of being found out, it immediately raises the stakes by forcing Cartman onto a vacation with Butters, which sets up the second and third act of the episode, where AWESOM-O will now be exposed to the world outside of Butters' house.
Hey guys, great news! It's all been arranged. You two are both going to Los Angeles to visit Butters' Aunt Nellie.
Oh, boy, my robot gets to come with me to see Aunt Nellie.
What?
Oh, boy, AWESOM-O, we're gonna have the best time ever.
Lame.
I have so many logistical questions about how Cartman is supposed to get on a plane without Butters realizing he's not a real robot.
Didn't you bring any bags?
Well, sure, but my robot is bringing him in.
Your robot?
Butters' new friend is a little strange. He really takes playing robot seriously.
There he is.
God, I love seeing Cartman suffer. Everybody loves seeing Cartman suffer. It's what makes this episode so satisfying to watch. And it's why episodes like Le Petit Tourette are so revered. Because Cartman is an asshole and he deserves to suffer. He's like a Falco on Melee Unranked that only laser camps. You want to see him lose. Now I mentioned that the comedy in this episode is built around Cartman's pain, which is made oh so much sweeter by the fact that it's self-inflicted. But in order to reach a point of payoff at the end, they have to keep escalating how much Cartman suffers. And that's exactly what this episode does. It makes his life into more and more of a living hell as it goes on.
AWESOM-O?
AWESOM-O is coming.
Come on, AWESOM-O, we're gonna go sightseeing.
The way he desperately eats that toothpaste with the green around his eyes, easily my favorite bit in this entire episode. And I know what you're thinking. This is peak suffering, right? How can they possibly top this moment later in the episode? But they do. Just not in the way you think, but they do.
I'm hanging out in Nelly with my robot friend. We're having such fun in the hot, hot sun.
Do we agree that the second montage is better than the first montage? I think the second montage is the superior montage. Anyways, by this point in the episode, you'd think that the adults would be aware that AWESOM-O isn't a real robot, you know, because Butters' family is shown to know that. But apparently, in LA, everyone is incredibly stupid, and they all think that AWESOM-O is real too, which I feel like is an intentional jab from Trey Parker and Matt Stone about Hollywood culture. I mean, just check out how they portray the movie executives in this first scene where they meet AWESOM-O.
We need an idea for a movie that's a home run, a feel-good romp for the whole family. Hey, what's that over there?
Mr. Robot, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
17.
That's a ton. Mitch, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yeah, maybe that robot can be programmed to come up with movie ideas.
Exactly.
Anyways, back to the important stuff. Remember when I said that as the episode goes on, Cartman suffers more and more, and that they'd somehow top the part where he's eating toothpaste in the bathroom? Well, this is how it happens. After being introduced to the Hollywood producers, Cartman is forced to become their own personal ChatGPT as he comes up with hundreds of movie ideas for them.
How about this? Adam Sandler is like in love with some girl, but then it turns out that the girl is actually a golden retriever or something.
Oh!
Oh, perfect! We'll call it puppy love!
Now you might be wondering how that could possibly be worse than starving yourself all day and going green around the eyes. And that's okay, don't worry, I'll tell you. And by tell you, I mean show you.
Can you believe those guys paid us $100 a piece for those movie ideas?
You should split that money with AWESOM-O. After all, they were AWESOM-O's ideas.
All right. What are you gonna do with money, AWESOM-O? Buy some robot pants? I'm gonna send this money to needy kids in third world countries.
This is Cartman's ultimate punishment, losing all of that money. Because let's be real, Cartman is obsessed with getting rich. He's been that way since like the 4th season of the show. He'd do anything for that kind of money. Hell, I'd bet he'd eat toothpaste for like a week straight if it meant he could keep it. And those are all supposed to be hundreds? It's gotta be like, what, $12,000 in there? But Cartman doesn't get to keep any of the money because his own lie prevents him from claiming it, which is so perfect that it's like South Park poetry. Because in one fell swoop, they are simultaneously shining a spotlight on Butters by drawing attention to how generous and kind he is, while also causing Cartman immense pain in the process. It's beautiful.
We all know that we live in a time of uncertainty. The risk of an attack on American soil is higher than ever. Now, I believe we might be able to curb that risk. 2 days ago, our intelligence department came across this. The AWESOM-O 4000.
Now this is the first scene in the entire episode that doesn't feature either Cartman or Butters, and its main purpose is just to raise the stakes even further by making AWESOM-O into a wanted asset for the US military. Which is also funny, because apparently the US government people are just as stupid as the Hollywood producers, which gets no complaints from me. I buy that.
It is currently being used by Catamount Pictures to develop ideas for movies. Our sources say that in just 1 week, it has come up with over 1,000 movie ideas, 800 of which feature Adam Sandler.
Oh my God!
Wait, holy shit. 1,000 ideas? I was way off. That's not $12,000, that's $100,000. Cartman got robbed.
We could reprogram it and turn it into a weapon.
I'm sorry, I must protest. We have no data suggesting the Japanese have developed a robot with offensive capability.
You're paid to think, Mr. Scientist. National security is our job. Gentlemen, we're going to Los Angeles. I want that robot.
Man, that dude's got the weirdest mouth I've ever seen on the show. Now, I know that this video is about AWESOM-O being a perfect episode, but I do have a small issue with this addition to the story, which is that it feels kind of random and out of place. Now, don't get me wrong, randomness is not always a bad thing in a South Park episode. A lot of top-tier episodes use random humor to great effect. But in this episode, everything that's happened up until this point has always been a direct result of how Butters has interacted with AWESOM-O. Like how Cartman came to LA because Butters' parents saw them playing together, or how AWESOM-O ended up working with the movie execs because he was noticed while on tour with Butters. It all builds on itself very well until the US Army stuff, which kind of just happens to them because of an article in a newspaper that the Army guys just luckily saw. Like, it's not completely unrelated, but it does feel like a major stretch, you know? It's a bit forced for my tastes. But even with that complaint in mind, it's still hilarious and leads to a great finale, so it doesn't really take that much away from the episode. It's more just a nitpick that I have.
Let's go! Move! Move!
AWESOM-O? Hey, what are you doing with him?
So yeah, AWESOM-O is taken away by the US military people, and while I don't really care about Cartman's well-being, I can't help but feel bad for Butters, who is the real victim here. He's like a puppy, you know? You just can't bear to see him get hurt.
I'm sorry, robot, but they want me to reprogram you.
I'm not a robot, dumbass. I'm alive.
What did you say?
I said I'm a real person, asswipe.
Oh my God. The robot, it thinks it's alive. It's developed consciousness.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Is my video about to turn into an essay on artificial consciousness right now? Did South Park make an episode about AI 20 years before it was relevant? Are we about to reach the singularity? Was AWESOM-O actually Sarah Cartman the whole time?
Hey there, did you know I had a robot friend? We used to laugh and play.
Okay, the sad version of the song is funnier for some reason, I just have no idea why. Anyways, Butters happens to spot the van that took Cartman away and finds the facility where he's being held, which I guess is possible, but it does seem extremely unlikely that he would get so lucky. Yeah, unfortunately, the third act of this episode is a little less tightly written than the rest. But again, I mostly think that's fine, especially since the jokes they get out of it are all top notch, which is ultimately all you really need for a great South Park episode, so I don't think it's a big deal.
What the hell are you doing?
I'm saving a conscious being. If you want to kill it, you'll have to go through me.
Fine. Kill that son of a bitch.
No, look, goddammit, now I can show you stupid assholes who I really am.
AWESOM-O!
I am the AWESOM-O 4000.
God, this is such a perfect moment. Cartman's life is in danger. The stakes are as high as they can possibly get, and he finally has a way out, but he chooses not to take it because Butters shows up, which means that he would rather risk dying than have the embarrassing video play in front of his friends. I swear, even though the plot advances in random ways near the end here, the character writing remains top tier, because the tension that's been building around Cartman concealing his identity pays off in dividends here when he chooses to put himself back in physical danger to prevent Butters from learning the truth. And I have more to say about this, but let's just finish the clip first.
No! No, please! Don't kill him! He's my best friend! He's my best friend in the whole world! He's my...
I really wanted to show the rest of that show because it's so f***ing good, but YouTube might not like it, so yeah, sorry. Anyways, I think it's an incredibly smart decision to have Butters' childhood innocence be the thing that saves the day here, because that very same innocence is what caused this whole story to unfold in the first place. And it just makes sense that an episode about Butters would be resolved through his actions. A nice bookend for the episode, if you will. But best of all is that after everything that Cartman has gone through, all the risks he took, and all the suffering he endured to protect his secret, the reason it all gets thrown away is because he farts.
I think maybe one day we can all... Wait a minute, did that robot just fart?
Hey, robots don't fart.
Now ending fart sequence.
Oh, and it smells too!
Smell sequence initiated.
A robot with smelly farts?
Hang on a second here.
I find it extremely fitting that after all the tension that gets built up throughout the finale, it gets released through Cartman's ass. Yeah, that's some clever shit right there. Now, I spent a lot of time in this video talking about how AWESOM-O is the mirror version of Casa Bonita, which I think is true for the most part. They're both A-plot only episodes. They both build on a simple premise that leads into a tense finale. We get our laughs from Cartman suffering instead of Butters suffering, and it's a character study on Butters instead of Cartman. So all of that is very true. But the thing is, I don't think that stuff is the reason why AWESOM-O is a perfect episode. I mostly just thought it was a cool observation to be making because it makes me sound smarter than I actually am. But in reality, this episode is as good as it is because they came up with a strong premise and executed it well. It has very good base elements. Cartman pretending to be a robot is funny. Butters as a character is rich with comedic opportunity. And watching South Park's Horse Kid get what's coming to him is guaranteed to be satisfying. So at the end of the day, it's the simplicity that makes this one so good. All that analysis about mirroring Casa Bonita, that's just episode structure stuff. It doesn't guarantee a good show. It wouldn't work if the base elements weren't already strong to begin with, you know? Like, you can mirror the episode structure of Casa Bonita, but if the premise isn't funny, then it's just not gonna land in the same way. But when those elements are good, and you combine that with a plot structure that mirrors one of the best episodes in the show, well, that's a recipe for success. And that's exactly what AWESOM-O does, which is why I think that it ends up being a perfect South Park episode. So with that in mind, it's only fitting that for the episode's final moment, we get one last mirror to Casa Bonita. Because after everything Cartman's been through, instead of getting exactly what he wanted like he did in that episode, it all comes crashing down, with Butters getting exactly what he wanted. The revenge he'd been planning since the start of the episode.
Touch my titties! I've got just like my titties! Come on, Justin, touch my body! Ooh, Justin, yeah! Touch my body, you and me! Check out my nice hot body! Ooh, come on, my body!
Wow, kid, you're a little
Lame.